Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time joining, thank you. If you're a previous subscriber or a new subscriber, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so you may have seen the previous video where I talked about taking this project back to simpler times. And what I mean by that is I am going to be doing this project on my Brother SE625 machine. Now the SE625 machine is a entry-level machine, embroidery machine. And the reason why I am taking it back is because my multi-needle machine, which I have over here on the right side of the room, is being really finicky and it absolutely hates using paper stabilizer. So in that previous video, I kind of showed you on what had happened, and I do not want to waste a lot of product with the machine being, fussy. I don't know what its problem is, but I turned the stitching down, everything. But we're not going to get into that. We're just going to go ahead and proceed with this video using the Brother SE625. Now, what we're going to be doing, we are literally going to be taking this a lot slower. If you're familiar, let me put it that way, if you're familiar with single needle machines or multi-needle embroidery machines, you will know that multi-needle embroidery machines can help you achieve a finished product faster. Now, in theory, that is great. But then again, in theory, it can cause a lot of stress if something is not working correctly. Now, I have known since I bought my multi-needle machine that it does not like tearaway stabilizer. And that is what we are going to be using for this project today. It does specify tearaway stabilizer, and I know my multi-needle machine just hates it. The SE625, I've never had a problem with the tearaway stabilizer. And tearaway literally just tears, okay? So if you're going to be stitching a product, or stitching a project, excuse me, and as you're stitching, that stabilizer tears before you can finish your project, you're going to be wasting everything that you have already finished. And then you can't use it again because it literally tore the stabilizer. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what we're going to be making. We are going to be creating in the hoop Christmas ornaments. And I'm going to show you here on my phone what it looks like. And you can see that here. It is a really cute gingerbread girl. She's got her little Santa hat on and her little dress. And that's what we're going to be making today. Now, I need to make 16 of these ornaments. So what I have done is I have prepared all my stabilizer. So I have that here. And this is what my stabilizer looks like when I purchase it. It's on a big roll like this. And I get my stabilizer from Amazon. I'm able to save a lot of money. I don't believe in the pre-cut stabilizer. To me, it just, I've never used it. I prefer cutting my stabilizer myself because with my different machines, I have many different sized hoops for each machine. And it's just easier to buy my stabilizer by the roll so I can cut it myself to what I need it to be. Now, if you are using just a machine that has one hoop size, like the SE625, the main hoop size is a 4x4. You can get the 8x8 pre-cut sheets, and that's going to work fine for you. But if you have many other machines with different hoop sizes, you'll want to buy it by the roll. Okay, so now we're getting off topic, sorry. So I have pre-cut all my stabilizer. I'm going to be making 16 ornaments. So what I did is I made sure I had enough cut. So let's set that aside. I have 2 hoops. That way I can have one ready to go when the other one is done. So that way I can just take it back out and get the next one started. I have pre-cut my felt pieces that I will need. You are going to need a front piece and a back piece. So cut those to the same size. Then you're going to need some kind of either a ribbon or some twine or something like that so you can make the hanger for your Christmas ornament. And again, I have pre-cut everything and I have it all here in a little bin. I have all my ribbon pre-cut and I have it over here in the bin because if you are familiar with my channel, you will know about Luna the Crafty Kitty, and she does like getting into things. So I have it all in this little bin and set aside and ready to go. Okay, the only thing I have not pre-cut is the red fabric that we will be using for her dress. And the reason why I did that is because I am not sure what size fabric I will need. Because in the design instructions, it does not specify the size. So we are just going to work up to that point. We will then stop and I will measure the size of the fabric that I need for that. We are going to cut it a little bit oversized because it's going to do the placement stitch, and then you will trim it away and then you'll go to the next step. Okay, so with all that being said, I have my design already in the machine and I have my thread colors selected. I have my white thread already on the machine because I just like to use the white thread for the placement stitches when I first start because it's just, white thread is just cheaper than the color threads. I buy my white thread by multi-spools, so I have it off to the side and ready to go. I have, it's just preference, whatever. You can stitch your colors in whatever you want. In this particular design, you're going to be using, I believe it was 3 different colors. 4 different colors, sorry. So you're going to be using, let me show you here again on my phone. Okay, so you're going to be using the white thread, so you can see on the hat and like the icing on her little body. Red for her hat. Green for the satin stitch around her dress. The brown is going to be the stitching around the design that will be holding the layers together. And then the gold for the little heart trim on her dress and at her neck. And then, oh, sorry, I do not have my black thread. I will get that ready. And I almost forgot the black and the pink. Okay, so the pink is going to be for her cheeks. So I forgot those as well. So let me gather those and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have our additional threads. I knew something looked kind of weird when I saw only 4 thread colors because I knew I was missing something, but my brain wasn't clicking. Okay, so what I have done is I have printed out my instructions, or you can have your instructions brought up on your computer, on your phone, or a tablet. What I usually do is I like printing them out so I have something to refer to, but I do have them off to the side as well if I need to bring them up on the machine, on the computer, just to see colors or anything like that. I usually always print my instructions out in black just because it saves on ink. It's just one of my frugal things that I do. Okay, so what you're going to do with this design is you will have to purchase the pattern. You will have to go to the Etsy store and buy the design. You cannot share designs, okay? So say that you bought the design and your best friend wants to make the design too. You cannot give her the USB file because that is against, it's against policies. It says that you cannot reproduce or distribution of this product or any portion of it. And what that means is the physical pattern. You cannot sell the pattern. You cannot share the pattern. You can sell the finished ornaments, okay? So that's where that differs. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go to Nani New Creations, and you can see that there, Nani New Creations. And this is the Gingerbread Girl ornament. I paid $3 for this. I've had this since probably before last Christmas, and maybe the Christmas before that, but they are still on the website. I did go and check them out, and they are still $3. This ornament requires a 4x4 hoop, and it is 4 by 2.5 inches. Okay, so with that being known, what I have done is I have cut my felt into 4 inches by 5 inch pieces, and you will need 2 pieces again for your design. You are going to again need a piece of ribbon, some fabric, and your threads, and tearaway stabilizer. So what I'm going to do is I am going to hoop my stabilizer. I then am going to switch the camera over to in front of the machine so you can see what the next steps are. I will be right back. Okay guys, hopefully you guys can see everything okay. We are set up in front of the machine, and I have my screen brought up here. And to load your design, you are going to hit this little symbol right here, and that means your USB. Now I only have one design on this USB, and that is because I am using a new USB stick. I had a smaller one for my SE625 machine, but I used it for my FAF machine. My FAF machine is very picky about the size of USB that it uses, and this particular USB is a 32 gig or 30 gig, something like that. 32, I believe. And so the Brother machine's not really picky about what size USB, but I wouldn't use anything larger than a 32 because that I know works on it. My other machines prefer either a 16 gig or the FAF prefers a 2 gig. So it is picky. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I only have one design. So we're just going to hit it. I am going to hit my hoop size, and we're going to set that. Okay, so now you can see that the design, I'm going to bring you a little closer, and you can see that the design is here. I don't have to move it, I don't have to size it, or I don't have to rotate it. What I do need to do is I need to go in and I need to select my colors. So I'm going to hit my color here. And what I want to do is the first color, I want to do my first color in white. So we're just going to do white, and that's going to be my placement stitch. So then my next color, I'm going to go, and it says orange. And the second color is, it's going to secure the body. So what I want to do is I'm going to, let's see. I want to use a brown. So I'm going to just do, I'm going to make sure that I know that it is brown. Because we are doing a gingerbread, I want my colors to match the placement stitches and the finishing stitches. I want it to match and that's going to be the outer border of the design. So that is our second color. So we're going to now go to our third color, which is going to be the eyes and the mouth. And it has it as black, so it automatically did it. So you know what? Let me go back. Wait. So the first color is, let's go back. We're going to reset. Okay, revert to previous color changes. Okay. So what I want to do is for the first color, we're going to do white. I want to hit OK. So the next color, we are going to do the brown. Okay. I'm going to pause. Give me just a moment, please. Somebody just pulled up out in front of my house. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I had somebody at my door and I had to take a little break. What happened was I went and got the door, came back in, and I started doing, I forgot to turn the camera back on, and I was editing the colors. So I'm going to just bring it back up and you guys can see what all the colors are. So you can see around the edges that it is the brown that is going to match the color of the gingerbread. Then the eyes will be black, and the mouth. The nose and the little, like the lip portion of the mouth is going to be red. The cheeks are pink. And then we have, so nose and mouth will be the red. The cheeks are pink, and hopefully, let me zoom that in. Let's see. No, it's not going to let me zoom it in any more than that for some reason. But hopefully, whoops, I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys can see that the cheeks right here are pink. Then you have, it's going to move on to this top portion of the hat up here. And we've got that red. Then it'll tell you rim of hat. And we got that in white. And then it will go to the side part of the hat, which is this little portion over here. I don't know why they have it broke up in the design. It's just the way it is. So that is going to be red as well. Then the lines on the arms and the legs, which will look like the icing portion, is white. Placement line for dress, I believe I did it in green. Place dress on fabric, then it's going to stitch a placement line down. You're going to secure the dress fabric, and then you're going to remove the hoop and you're going to trim that excess fabric off. And then, let's see, trim close to stitch line, secures dress fabric. Okay, and then you're going to remove it and you're going to stitch the satin stitch around. And then the hearts at the bottom of the dress we've done in gold. Oh wait, okay, so it skips a little bit. I'm sorry. So what it did is it did the placement line for the dress. Then you're going to secure the fabric down. And then you're going to trim close to the stitch line that you did. So you're going to trim the excess fabric. Then it's going to move on to the hearts, which are the hearts at the bottom of the dress, and those are in gold. And then color 13, what that does is it stitches around the dress, the satin stitch, which is the green. Then it's going to stitch this heart in gold. And then you're going to turn your hoop, you're going to pull your hoop out, and you are going to flip it over, and you're going to place the ribbon, and then you're also going to secure, attach that with tape, and you're going to place the backing fabric on, make sure you attach that with tape as well. Then you're going to put it back in the hoop, and then you are going to do your final stitch. And that's going to be brown around the hoop, around the design again. But in that step, what I will be doing is I am going to make a note on my instructions that I will take my, let me move over here. I will take my white bobbin thread out of the machine and replace it with a brown bobbin thread, because what that's going to do is it's going to stitch the back piece of the fabric down to the rest of the design. And that brown stitch is going to give a nice finished look. Okay, so we're going to hit OK. Sorry guys, I'm going to really quickly change bobbin thread, change bobbin. And I just kind of wrote it messily on my, right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. And it's just to remind me to change that thread. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I am going to, I have my embroidery foot already attached. We're going to go ahead and put a hoop in. I'm going to hit embroidery. Okay. So it looks like all my colors look good. If they don't, we'll just thread it as we go. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and hold this, and what it's going to do is I'm going to hit start. It's going to stitch our placement stitch, and I'm going to slow it down a little. Lower presser foot. I always forget on this machine that I have to do that. And you can hear the popping, and what that, I'm going to stop so I can trim that thread so nothing gets caught. What that popping is that is completely normal. That is just the needle going through the tearaway stabilizer. Since it is paper, it is going to make a little bit of a noise. Okay. Now, a good thing with my single needle machine, it does prompt me each time to change the thread color. On my multi-needle machine, it does not do that. It just moves into the next step because I have it set on manual. No, I think I have it set on automatic color changes. And if I had it set on manual, I would have to, it would stop between each color thread change. So, okay. So now what I'm going to do is we are going to cut. I'm going to raise the foot. I'm going to make sure thread cut. I'm going to remove the hoop. And then you can see your placement stitch there. I know it's really hard to see because I did use a white. Let me turn this other light on. Sorry, guys. I forgot to turn it on. There you guys. Hopefully you guys can see that. I know it's really hard to see. But now what we're going to do is you are going to take your first piece of your felt and you're going to lay it over. And you want to make sure that it's going to cover. So one way you can do that is if you hold it up to the light, you can, hopefully you guys can see that. You can see through it. And you just want to make sure that you have it placed over with enough room. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I trim this thread knot because I don't want everything getting caught on that. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just over here to the side, I am just going to tape down my, I got my tape here. I'm just over here off to the side really quickly. I'm going to tape down the fabric. I will be right back. Okay, so I have it taped down, and you can see here in each little corner, I just put a little piece of tape to hold it down. We're going to put it back in the hoop, or the hoop back into the machine. And you can see, let me move you here a little bit closer, And you can see that it advances already to the next color. I had it just say at clay brown because it is the tan color. So now what I have to do is make sure my foot's raised up. And now what I'm going to do is I have to change my thread color. So we're going to pull out of the machine and I'm going to change the thread color. I'm going to pause because it does take a couple minutes to do that. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my next color. We're just going to turn you here just a little bit so you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and lower the foot and we are going to start the next stitch. What this next stitch is you are actually working now on your color number 2 instructions, and it says secures the body fabric. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to hold this thread tail and I'm going to hit start. And what it did is it locked the stitch. I'm going to pause. I always like to pause and clip my thread tails. I'm going to actually speed up the stitch and we're going to hit start. And the noise that you hear the machine making is completely normal. I think I do have to maybe, the track down here, I may have to oil it just a little bit. And I'm just making sure I hold the fabric down just a little bit because it kind of was. There we go. Okay, so it automatically stopped between the next stitch. I'm going to raise the foot. And I know it says that you shouldn't do it this way. I've never had a problem doing it this way. I just pull my thread through. I do not like wasting my thread. I know some people say that you should trim your thread up at the top and pull it out the bottom. I've never done it that way. Well, I have done it that way, but I've never had a problem with it. If you keep your machine maintained, I don't have a problem with it. Some people say that it messes up your tension discs, and again, never had any issues. Okay, so our next color, we are just going to black, and we are doing step number 3, color 3, which are the eyes and the mouth. Okay, so you know what, we're just going to go ahead and thread it and just keep on running. I like doing my videos in real time because it does let you guys see exactly how long something is going to take. And this has an auto threader on it, so I just thread it through the auto threader, push it down, it pulls it through. I grab it with my tweezers back here and I stick it down through the little hole. Whoops. And this is really good where your tweezers come in handy because you can stick it down through the foot, the hole on the foot, and just grab underneath of it. So I'm going to hold it. We're going to put the foot down. I always forget to put the foot down because I'm so used to the FAF machine. It does it automatically. It puts it when you go to do your next stitch, it lowers automatically. Same with the multi-needle machine. There's nothing to put down. Okay, so now we're going to do the eyes and the mouth. So it's going to start stitching. I'm going to pause, and I can't trim that yet, so give it just a second. Okay, so now I'm going to pause it, raise it up just so I can get the tail. Again, I don't like those thread tails. Okay, there we go. So you could see where it was kind of grasping a little bit. So I have something happening here. I'm going to stop I'm going to trim my thread. Yep. Trim thread. And I think my tension is messed up. So I'm going to take the hoop out, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Okay, so you can see that little bit of white right there. It is bringing up the upper thread. I can save this by just marking that with a Sharpie, so that's okay. But what I want to do is I'm going to just kind of adjust my tension just a little bit. I set it back to factory tension. I forgot to reset it when I started the project because I had done another project before where I was actually doing some straight line stitching. And I know a lot of people tell you don't mess with your factory tension. Well, you know what? It just does not apply for machines that are sewing and embroidery, because sometimes you do have to adjust your tension. I don't care what anybody says. Sometimes you have to, because tension for one stitch is not going to be factory setting. Some people say, like I said, don't adjust your setting. Well, you know what? Sometimes you just have to. So let's go ahead and continue. Okay, that is better. I did put it back to the original tension that embroidery is supposed to be. You can see it hiccuping up just a little bit, and the reason why it is doing that is because there's a knot on the back and it's grabbing that knot. Sometimes it happens. It's just something you learn along with machine embroidery, that sometimes that does happen. And I'm telling you guys, this seems absolutely so slow because I am so used to the FAF machine, which stitches almost twice as fast as this one. And the multi-needle machine stitches really quickly. Our next color after this is going to be the nose and mouth, which we will be switching to a red. And it's just going to be such a small portion that it stitches. I will be finishing the rest of these designs on the multi-needle machine, and I'm going to switch to a cutaway stabilizer. It's not going to make that much of a difference. I'll be trimming it away anyway. But to save stress of filming this tutorial for you guys, I just went ahead and moved to the small machine. If I had to do all 16 of my designs with this machine, it would definitely stress me out because it is a lot slower. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to again take the hoop off the machine, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so that was where my tension messed up. You can see the white right there. Not a big deal because I can go over that with a Sharpie and it's not going to hurt nothing. So on these, I am going to go ahead and take my scissors and I'm going to cut these jump stitches. And the reason why I like to cut them is just it's a nice cleaner design as I'm working. I don't like it to over stitch on the jump stitches because it might be a lighter color. Okay, so there's that portion. I'm going to put it back in the machine, pop it in, and again, now we change color again. And I am going to put it up. And I've got a lot of thread here unraveling. You guys can probably see that there. So I got really spoiled on the multi-needle machine, and I'm telling you guys, I absolutely love the fact that it trims all my jump stitches and things like that. But if you're just starting off, this is exactly what you're going to experience. Okay, so now we are switching to the red, and I am using it is actually called Christmas Red, and this is a new Bro thread that I'm using. When I started doing my machine embroidery, this is the thread I started with. I like it. It works for all of my machines. I don't have any issues with it. I know some people only prefer name brand threads like the Madeira, the Isacord. Let's see, I don't know all the name brands because I just don't really pay attention to them. Madeira. Oh, what's another one? Candle. I just don't know them all. But new Bro thread works for me. I use it and Sim thread exclusively. Those are my brands that I use. Okay, so now we are going to put our foot back down. We're going to now stitch the nose and the mouth. And I'm not going to worry about trimming that one because it is just such a small... We are actually on color number 4, which is nose and mouth right here. And you can hear it popping like that. And sometimes what that is it's just because the knots. And it's normal. That sound is normal. Don't let people tell you it's not. Okay, so there was the nose and mouth. And I know this is going to be a little bit of a longer video because we are doing it on the small machine. But again, if you are just starting out, this is what you can expect. This is how long it will take you to do a project. So I trimmed off the little jump thread that was here. I'm going to put it back into the machine. And we are now again going to switch color. We are switching to, what is our next one? We are going to Flesh Pink. So I'm just going to be using this really soft pink. And I'm not going to wind up my red right yet because we are going to be switching right back to red right after this. And we are going to be stitching the hat part after that. Okay, so let's just pop her in there. Auto threader. And I do really love the auto threader on this machine. I like the way it works. It works a little bit differently on this one than it does on my Brother SE625. My Brother, it's the SQ9185. That is the just a regular sewing machine, sewing and quilting. Okay, so again, I'm holding my thread tail. Let's go ahead and put our foot down, start. And I did take all my threads off of my multi-needle machine because I already had these spools started and I did not want to start new spools. So I went ahead and took them off of the machine. Again, I'm going to leave it in the machine. I'm just going to trim the thread tail while it's in the hoop. Our next color, we are going back to the red. So we are finished with the pink, so I can actually wind it up and set it back over near the multi-needle machine. And I did take the red off the multi-needle. But like I was saying earlier, I don't know if I finished saying it, I will be finishing these designs on these ornaments on the multi-needle, but I will be using the cutaway stabilizer just because I know my machine does better with the cutaway, and I will be able to finish all 16 of the ornaments that I need. I may actually be making 36 of these if I do include them in Christmas cards for family. Okay, I keep on forgetting to put foot down. I look over here to start, but I can't start because it's not giving me the green light, because I have to put the foot down every time on this machine. Okay, so now we are on to color number 7. Oh, I'm sorry, color number 6, top part of hat. So I'm gonna pause, trim the thread, and continue. I will again have all of the information for this design and the Etsy seller down in the description box. Sorry, my chair's squeaking, guys. I need to figure out how to fix that squeak. Okay, so we are actually done with our black color as well, so I'm going to set that aside as well. One thing I do like about this machine is it gives you can see these little numbers here off to the side, and that is how long it tells you each color is going to take to stitch. So this one says 2 more minutes, or 2 minutes. So it's doing a little bean stitch here around the edge of the hat. And what I believe what that does is it locks in stitching. Gives it a nice finished look, finished edge. Okay, so now our next color, we are going to switch to white. And I believe this is going to be the longest stitch that we have. We're going to pull the red off. I'm not going to wind it up because we will need it right after this one again. Oh no, we will be doing, I'm not sure, I may have the color wrong. No, I have it right. Don't want to get you guys confused, I have it right. There, rethread. So, when I first started, I was thinking it was absolutely horrible, all this stress of changing your colors. But I know a lot of people do it. I know a lot of professional machine embroidery artists have single needle machines, or, just maybe a 2 or 3 needle machine. Well, they don't make 2 or 3 needle. They make, I think, a 1 single needle, 4 needle, 6 needle, 9. I think some brands have a 10 needle. I have a 12 needle. They go up to 15. So, you know, it just really depends. But when I first got this machine, I was thinking changing my threads is so slow and agonizing. Okay, so now we are going to hit start again. This one's going to take 6 minutes. So I'm going to start it and then I'm going to pause. And that way, okay, so it's going to do a little part of the eye here. Okay, it is doing that because the knots that were in the back of the black thread, I'm going to stop and see that popping. Sometimes it just does that because there's so many knots on the back side. Don't let it freak you out unless it tears your stabilizer, okay? When I first started, I freaked out so much by that sound. If it knots up really bad, it'll stop stitching and it'll jam up. That's when you really got to worry. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. It is stitching the white of the eye and then it is going to move on. I'm going to hold this down so it doesn't do that popping. Stop. Okay, so I need to stop. Okay, I'm going to show you guys something. What happened here? Let's take it out. Okay, so see how it started knotting up on the back? I am going to absolutely trim all that off because if I continue letting it do that, it is going to continue knotting. And let me show you guys something. Right here, it actually already started ripping right there in that little spot. Now, that is sometimes why I really hate doing some of the really tight stitching because that happens. On my multi-needle machine, it trims. It doesn't do all these knots. It trims so nicely that I don't have that problem. Okay, so I was able to stop that before it got really bad. So I'm going to just pull my thread out a little bit. I'm going to back up a couple stitches. You can see that, let me show you. This little one right here, I'm going to back up a couple stitches. And what that did is it's just going to relock this portion back in place. So I'm going to lower the foot and restart. Okay, so I'm going to stop and I'm going to trim this big long thread tail. You will learn as you progress in your machine embroidery journey on what your machine does and what it doesn't do. And guys, I'm going to tell you, I was so stressed when I first started because I didn't know that these things happen and that it's okay. It's just, you know, you work through it. But literally, that can happen. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Okay, I got to stop because you can see up here that it says check and rethread the upper thread. What happened? I'm going to pop. You have to raise your foot back up to rethread or it will not thread correctly. What happened is I think I trimmed the stitching thread. It happens more times than I care to admit. So I'm going to hit OK. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. And I think I am going to go back 10 stitches. 10 more. Okay, 10 more looked good. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the foot back down and restart. To stop because for some reason it is now not picking up my bobbin thread. So I'm going to raise my foot and it is not stitching. So I have to check my bobbin thread. And what happened was it probably got trimmed and it just didn't pick it up. That happens often as well. So let's rethread. And pop that back on. Okay. I am now going to reattach, and again I have to back up my stitching. And we're going to trim that. It didn't have to be trimmed. Okay, so again I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go back 10, go back 10, 10 more. Okay, so now I know it's going to start in the right position. So I'm going to hold my thread tail, and I'm going to lower the needle, and then we're going to go. Okay, there we go. Now it is, the thread is staying in the fabric. And again, sometimes that can happen. You can clip that thread by mistake. Let's go ahead and continue. Okay, stop that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since this one is going to take 6 minutes to stitch out, I'm going to pause the video and let it stitch this out. That way that's 6 minutes of time that you guys don't have to sit through. We will be right back when this part is finished. Okay, so we just finished with the white on the hat. I'm going to take it out of the machine so you can see what it looks like. And that's what that portion should look like. And that was the finish of color number 7. This is the rim of the hat. And you can kind of see this little zigzaggy stitch that it did. I guess that's to mimic like the fuzzy part of the white hat. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and put back into the machine. And again, we are changing color. And we are going to do, it just says 1 minute of red. And again, we are just going to go ahead and thread it. Let you guys see. I was looking during the 6 minutes that last portion had stitched out that on how to do manual thread changes on my multi-needle machine, because I have never done that before, and it's pretty easy. I go while I'm doing the editing, I just set that, but I've never done it before, so I wasn't sure which button to push. And I gotta trim my thread here because it has a little rough edge on it and it didn't want to go through the foot. One thing you always want to do as well when you are threading your machine, always do it with your foot up so it seats itself correctly inside the tension discs. Okay, so this part's going to just take 1 minute, so I'm going to just go ahead and let it stitch. I'm going to pause so I can do the trim that. Come on. There is a little thread there that I want to make sure I get off. Now, you are going to hear some popping on here, and it is just this. I'm telling you guys, I do not have luck with this tearaway stabilizer at all, and I don't like when designs knot up. So you can hear that right there. What that's doing is it's catching on the knots underneath. Sometimes what I do is when I am doing a design, I'll cut all those knots off when it's like that because I don't want them to be all bulky on a design. And what I do is I cut them off and then I just take like tacky glue like this. See how it's doing that? See how it's hopping? That is literally in the knots. I started with a brand new needle. Tension is correct. We're almost finished with this. And at this point, we're almost halfway through the design. There is 8,818 stitches in this design, and we just hit 5,000. But as I was saying, I will trim those knots off the back. See how it's doing that? Guys, I really hate that. I'll cut those knots off, and I'll put a little glue on the back to make sure that those stitches stay locked. Okay, so let's make sure that that thread cut. Okay, lift up. Now we are going to, let me show you where we're at right now. So that is where we're at right now, and you can see this little jump thread right there. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that jump thread. And I have, you know, it could be, maybe there's a, okay, let me show you. Okay, see all these little knots and these little threads that are at the back? This machine is catching on that stuff. And I know it's a brand new needle. I know my machine is clean. I cleaned it before I started. It does not need to be oiled. So it's just, sometimes it just happens. Now I, again, am done with the red. So I'm going to wind my red back up, because it will be going back onto the multi-needle machine. And now our next color is going to be the white again. And we are on step, let's see, we are going on to color 9. So I'm going to flip here. And color 8 is what we just completed for that last portion of the hat that was up here. We're going to move on to color 9, which are the lines on the arms, the legs, and the pom-pom portion of the hat. So let's go ahead and thread. And I'll show you as the portion as we are starting. Then I will pause again, because this is going to take 5 minutes. And that's just, again, 5 minutes of time that is saved. So you guys don't have to watch that 5 minutes of stitching. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, lower the foot. We're going to start. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to trim this one. I'm going to raise the foot so I can see to trim the correct thread so I don't mess up again. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and it is going to stitch this portion. You can see here that it does take 5 minutes. So I'm going to pause the camera, and then when it is finished, I will be back. Okay, so we have finished stitching the white. I am going to raise up, make sure it cut the thread, and I'm going to again take it off so you can see where we are at. And we just finished color 9, and you can see that there. What color 9 did is it did the pom-pom on the hat and the little stripes on the feet and the legs. I'm going to pause video for a moment. I am going to rethread the next, or I'm going to thread the next color, and I'm going to open the door because little Luna is crying at the door. So give me just a moment. Okay, so that is what it should look like after the lines on the arms, the legs, and the pom-pom on the hat is complete. We're going to go ahead and put it back in the machine. And as you can see back there, we have a little visitor. And we're just going to leave her. She will sit behind the machine. She knows that she's not allowed to get up inside the machine, so please don't freak out that she is in here. I know some people really do. Okay, so my next color, she's going to try to lay down on our fabric, and I can't have her do that yet. Okay, so our next color is going to be the green, and I put, you can see where it says emerald green. It was just the color in the machine to let me know that I need to switch to green. I am actually using a color, I believe it is called Christmas green. I bought it in a multi-pack of thread, And that was what I got the, I think it is the Christmas color set of New Bro thread. And it was a 6-spool set. I had gold, green, white, and I can't remember all the colors that came in that particular set. Okay, I'm going to hit start, and what this is, this next one is going to be color 10. It is the placement line for the dress. So let's lower the foot. Okay, so now when this color is finished, I am going to have to take the hoop out of the machine again, and I am going to have to measure this portion, because this is where the fabric, okay, so let's go ahead and raise the foot. Hopefully it cut the thread. Yes, it did. Okay. I am so used to sliding out the hoop. Here I have to push this little button here. Let me show you. This little button right here, I have to kind of push this and lift the hoop out. Okay, so you can see this line. This is our placement line for the dress. I'm going to trim this thread. And now what I have to do is, our next step is telling us, let me show you. Okay, so we just did the step 10, placement line for the dress. Then you're going to place the dress fabric on top of the placement line. Okay, well that's all good and fine, but in her instructions, she does not tell you the size of fabric you need for this. So I have my 2.5-inch square here, and you can see that if you pre-cut a 2.5-inch square, you are going to waste some fabric. So I think I can get away with a 2-inch square. Okay, you guys can see that? This is my 2-inch mark here. I think I can get away with cutting a piece of 2-inch fabric. So I can even kind of put it at an angle like that. Can you guys see that? So I'm going to cut a 2-inch square piece of fabric, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have my little piece of fabric cut. It's about 2 1/4 actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in the machine, and I'm just going to lay this right over that piece. I know that if I do it like at, let me show you. So you can see where the line is. If I do it just right over the top like that, I know, lift up at the bottom, I know that I'm going to have enough fabric to trim that. Now what we're going to do, this is actually literally just a placement stitch, okay? So I'm going to grab my thread and I'm going to pull it out enough so I can hold the tail. And this, what we're doing now is we did the placement stitch for the dress, which was color 10. Then you're going to place the dress fabric on top of the placement line. Color 11 secures the dress fabric. So we're still in the green, but we're going to lower it and we're just going to secure it. And this is doing like a bean stitch, so it is attaching it nicely. So, and I'm just kind of like holding it with my tweezers down so that it doesn't get no bubble or crease in the fabric line. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to raise the foot. I will remove it to show you. And that is what you should look like now after color 10. You did the placement stitch, you paste the fabric, then you stitched down in color 11, which secures your dress fabric. Now what you want to do is you want to take some small scissors And I actually like using little scissors like this because see how little the point is? You know you can get right next to that without cutting the stitching. So I'm going to literally cut, I'm going to trim this fabric all the way to at the edge of this stitching. Don't cut the stitching. Be very, very carefully. I'm going to pause the camera and I'm going to do that off screen because it does take a little bit of close-up work. So give me just a moment. Okay, so I have it trimmed and you can see I literally just trimmed that fabric right off. And so you see how close I have it? You're like a thread of the fabric literally right next to that green tack down stitch. Okay, so now what we're going to do, put it back in your machine, and here it doesn't make sense to me. I would have continued stitching down the with the green, but it tells you change to your next color, which is the Harvest Gold. And what that's going to do is that is going to start stitching down, that's going to start doing the actual, the hearts on the skirt. So what we are now, you secured the dress fabric, you trimmed close to the stitch line, and now we are on to color number 12, which are going to be the hearts at the bottom of the dress. Then you're going to switch thread color again, and it's going to satin stitch around that. And I think what it's going to do is it's just going to put a finishing edge even where this the gold hearts are. That is my only guess on why it is having us switch the thread, which is okay. Maybe it's that way for a reason. It just gives it more of the finished look. Okay, where's my tweezers so I can pull back through. And I'm sorry guys, I know this is going to be a long video. Again, most of my videos are, but when you are doing tutorials in real time, it takes a while. Okay, so we'll put the foot down. Let's start stitching. And again, we are on color 12, and these are doing the little hearts on the dress, and it does have it in the pattern that these are gold. If you remember correctly in the photo I showed you, right here, it does have them in gold. There's a hair on I got a crack in my screen protector there. I don't know if you guys can see that. So we are stitching this portion right here. And then our next step will be the satin stitch around. Okay, so that was really quick. Okay, so raise the foot. Trim this thread. And we are going to switch really quickly again back to our green, because that is going to do our satin stitch. And guys, we are almost finished with this design. Come on, thread. I'm kind of getting excited that we are almost done because I can go eat dinner. I wanted to make sure that I got this finished before I ate dinner, because I knew that if I stopped in the middle of it to go eat, I wouldn't want to come back and finish. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our foot down. We are going to do the satin stitch around the dress. This says it's going to take 2 minutes, so we're just going to go ahead and let it play. Actually, I'm going to stop and trim. Okay. Now, there's going to be a very important step coming up, and This is one of the steps that you really have to pay attention to. If you are not familiar with machine embroidery in the hoop designs, this is a step I completely bypassed the very first time I made an in the hoop Christmas ornament a few years ago. And it is very easy to overlook. So we are doing our satin stitch around, and again, whoops, this is the portion that we're doing here that we're stitching around. I probably could have trimmed a little bit closer still. I think what I'll do is I will get some smaller scissors. I have some almost like manicure curved scissors, and I can get really close because the tip of the blade is very, very sharp and small. I'm going to show you what I mean. So these are the type of scissors that I'm talking about. They're just like little manicure scissors. They do make embroidery scissors this small, but see how thin the blades are? Can you see that? And you can get really close up to that stitching without cutting the stitching because the points are really, really sharp and small, and they're great for this type of work. We are almost finished, but again, there are some very, very important steps coming up that you have to pay attention to. Okay, so we are going to again change our thread color to the gold. I'm not going to take it off the hoop or off the machine because we are so close to being finished. We are going to now switch back to the gold, because what that's going to do is we are going to do the heart that is on the neckline of the dress. And then we have the very important portion coming up. So I don't want to take this off until we get to that actual necessary step of having to remove it from the machine, the hoop from the machine. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so go ahead and put down, stitch this last one. And if you remember at the beginning of our design, I mentioned to you that I was going to be changing the bobbin color. Now this, after this little portion, this is where that bobbin color change is coming in. Okay, so now you want to pay close attention. Okay, so you can see that we have all of the front stitched. Now what you're going to do, let me trim this thread. We are going to, let me show you here on the edge. You can see the little threads of the red of the dress. That's okay. I stitched pretty close, but you can help prevent some of the fraying of the fabric if you starch your fabric first. That can kind of help prevent fraying. But if you don't want to do that, just kind of make sure that you kind of smooth those frayed little edges down a little bit. So now our next important step. Let me move this up here, and we are going to now move on. We just finished color 14 where it was the heart on the dress. Now we take the hoop out of the machine. You're going to turn your hoop over and you're going to place the ribbon on the top and secure with tape. Okay, so we have it here, and I'm going to trim that little thread there. Okay, so now you're going to take your ribbon and make sure you don't have it all twisted up. Okay, so just take your piece and you are going to put it like so. And let me get a piece of tape, and I'm going to show you how to tape it. Okay, so I am literally taking a big piece of tape. I'm actually going to take 2 pieces of tape. Now, I am going to put one up here at the top. You can see that I have my ribbon here. And you're going to see how I have it crossed? And the reason why I have it crossed is that is going to give you a better attachment. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my next piece of tape and I'm taping it down just a little bit further. And in my experience, this is what I found works the best, okay? So see how that is attached down? You don't want to put your tape down here because you're going to be stitching over that. You don't want to stitch your tape because you risk gumming up your needle with your tape. I've had that happen before. I'm not saying that it would happen to you, but it has happened to me. And I don't like stitching over tape. Okay, so I did that. I turned the hoop over and I placed the ribbon on top and I secured with the tape. Now you're going to place your back fabric, making sure it is correctly over the gingerbread man. So we're going to take our next piece and we are going to kind of like hold it up to the light again so you can see the previous. Can you see that through there? You're going to want to make sure that you do the same thing. Get that over there so it lines up with that, okay? Lay it flat. Make sure that when you lay it down flat to tape it down, you don't push on this because you're going to distort or possibly tear your stabilizer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have my taped down well enough. And the reason why I say this is because I've had it where it comes off. And it is very frustrating when you've gotten through this much work and it comes off. You would be so frustrated. When I first started, I was nearly in tears because it messed up the back piece. Okay, now, okay guys, so let me show you something. Let me make sure this is all attached down to the paper. Okay, now literally this may be overkill. You may say, well, you don't need that much tape. I have had experience where I do need this much tape. Can you guys see that? I put tape all the way around. Now the reason why I did that is because when I put this back onto the machine, anything that's on here may catch that piece of tape. If you have any piece of tape that is just a small little piece like what we did here on the front, it can catch that and it can fold over your fabric. You don't want that to happen. Now when you put it back in the machine, make sure you do not catch your piece of ribbon. So we're going to make sure that that's not folded down into the design. Oops, 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 oops. I almost forgot an important step. Take the hoop off, take the hoop off. Okay, I almost forgot the most important step. So now we are doing the last stitching. Now, what you want to do is, if you remember correctly, all the stitching that we have done so far has been with a white bobbin. We no longer want the white bobbin. We want color matching thread to what we did, the edge here. Okay, I'm going to have to pause for just a moment. It's telling me I need to change the battery. Give me just a moment. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I had to change the battery. So now I know that how much of a battery I can expect to use. So I went through a whole battery and I just changed to a fresh one. So I was saying that you want to match your finishing thread with what this stitch line was. Okay, so that is our final color, the clay brown color. It's brown, but I want to match my bobbin thread because it's going to show up now on the back of the design, and you want a really nice finish. If it was showing a white thread on the back, it wouldn't give you a very nice finish. So I'm going to put the new brown bobbin into the machine. I am going to thread our final color, which will be the brown. And I can't find the end of my thread. Come on, there we go. And I wish you guys could smell my house right now. There is a cauliflower pizza in the oven. Now, I am on weight loss medication because I have a thyroid condition that causes me to gain weight. I am taking semaglutide for weight loss, and I try to eat healthier, and cauliflower crust vegetable style pizza, or a vegetarian pizza, still lets me have pizza. Okay, so now we're going to put this back in. I've got the bobbin, the brown bobbin in. I got my brown thread threaded. We're going to put it back into the machine, and I want to make sure that I have my ribbon so it's not going to get caught in stitching. And we're going to start. Lower my thread foot, the foot, and start. I'm going to pause for a moment, and I'm going to trim this thread tail. Come on. And this final stitch, what it does is it does something called a bean stitch. I'm going to speed that up a little. And what it does is it gives a nice kind of a thicker finished hand stitch look. And guys, this is almost the end of our design. All of the information will be down in the description box of where I bought the design, the Etsy store I purchased it from, all of my supplies that I have used. I think the only thing that I will definitely be changing on my next stitch out on the larger embroidery machine, my multi-needle, I will be using cutaway stabilizer. Okay, there we go. Okay, and it told me finished embroidery, so I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to raise the foot. And we are going to remove it from the machine. And we have a finished design, finished stitching design. You can see that nice kind of like hand-looking stitch. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we are going to pause the video. I am going to go to the overhead view, and we will be back in just a couple minutes. Okay, so we have all of our stitching done. Now what we're going to do is we are actually going to take it out of the hoop. And I have moved to the upper head or the overhead camera view so we could do this final part. I'm going to peel off the tape from the back. And I usually like to peel it off in the order that I first put it on. That way I don't risk taking stretching the felt. I'm sorry, after I ate, I kind of like lost my train of thought. Okay, so we are taking it out of the hoop, like so. And usually what I like to do is, if I do have to use the tearaway stabilizer, I tear as much away as I possibly can now. And that way I don't have to worry about when I'm trimming it up. Rip all your stabilizer. Whoops, I've almost forgot an important step here. I almost forgot to peel off the tape for the ribbon. And you want to look when you get your ribbon, when you're taking it off. You can see how well it's stitched inside when you crossed it over like that. So you're actually stitching over a little bit more, so you can ensure that it is nice and attached. Okay, so get that thread. Okay, so you can see where it knotted it on the back, and you can see where I was talking about the matching thread on the back of the design on the ornament, how it gives it a nice finished look. Okay, so I'm going to trim those threads down. And what you want to do now is you are going to trim all the way around the design within, it says 1/8 of an inch. I don't really like going that close. I typically, maybe between 1/4 inch and 1/8. So I just kind of play it by ear. I am getting my tweezers and I am making sure I get that stabilizer out of those little areas, just so it's a little bit. Now when I am doing the cutaway stabilizer, I don't worry about it. I just cut it all the way down, and that stabilizer is actually going to help the longevity of the ornament, in my opinion. It's going to, I have another pair of tweezers here. Let me find them. It's going to actually help to maintain the life of the ornament, because it's going to give it more stability over time, if that makes sense. Okay, I think I got that stabilizer out enough. And usually I would do this part off camera, but I just want to let you guys see what you have to do by pulling the stabilizer off. Okay, there we go. So I got all those little pieces out. And now what you're going to do is, what I like to do, I do the very top piece last, because I don't want to risk cutting the ribbon. So I like using scissors that have a little bit longer, but again, sharp points. And I make sure I start somewhere that's got a nice big enough edge. And I think I am kind of doing it maybe 1/4 inch. Make sure you're holding both layers together, like so. And then you're just going to trim. And you don't want to do a sawing as you're cutting, because you're going to get the, see how right here, how it did these rough little edges? So you want to kind of make sure you kind of trim those, so you're not doing a really rough looking edge. And sometimes in sharp, in areas where it's a little close, I like using my nippers in these like little corner areas, like right in here, because it is going to give me a better cut. And I just nip those just a little bit, and then continue on with regular scissors. Now, if you are good about using pinking shears, you can trim it up with pinking shears if you wish. And just continue. I'm not going to get really close into these little edges. I'm just going to kind of trim up on that and continue going around. And I will do some cleanup with the nippers. Okay, so I'm going to pause so I can get up a little closer to trimming this up. I like getting up really close to my face when I'm trimming. I don't know why, but I'm going to go ahead and finish trimming, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have finished trimming it up, and let me stand up here so I can get this really nice and close, and you guys can see how adorable that finished. Now, I will kind of, when I am trimming, I want to make sure everything looks nice where I trimmed it and it doesn't look really choppy. So I will kind of take some other little smaller scissors, like my smaller ones here, and just kind of clean up a little bit along the edge. That way I don't have any of those saw marks, so it doesn't look like it's really aggressively cut or anything like that. And there you go. There is your little gingerbread girl Christmas ornament. Okay, guys, so now what I'm going to do is we are finished with this ornament. I will continue making the rest of them on the multi-needle machine. And if you want to see any other in the hoop designs on the multi-needle machine, please let me know, and I will get to those. I have in the hoop bags. I have two beautiful purse designs to make on the hoop, or in the hoop. What else do we have? We have some log cabin quilt blocks. I'm not a huge fan of the quilt blocks in the hoop, but I can do those if you guys prefer. If you guys would like to see those, please comment down below. If you have any questions about this design, please comment down below and I will answer those as soon as I can. We are going to go ahead and get this video editing. And again, I hope you guys liked this video. I'm sorry it is a longer video, but we did do it in realistic time on what it would take to actually complete this design. Let's see what else. We are going to go ahead and get editing so you guys can see this video. If you haven't yet, please give that video a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'm thinking that the next video is going to be on the Cricut machine because I do have some really important projects that I have to get done in less than 2 weeks. So hope you guys stay tuned for those, and we'll see you all again really soon. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.